Hi, this is Ben from No Bounds Digital. A question that we hear sometimes is, what's the difference between my target market and a buyer persona? I know what my target market is. My target market's C-level executives, ages 40 to 55. Great. How is that different from a buyer persona, and why is a buyer persona so much better than just understanding who your target market might be? Well, we have just kind of discussed in a nutshell this brief demographic profile that's really the thrust of what your target market is or your target audience is. But a buyer persona goes a lot deeper. A buyer persona helps you understand who your customer is at a very individual level. So it's not just maybe who the gender is, the age, what their job title or occupation is, but understanding who that person is, how they go about their day-to-day lives, and why that matters to how you're selling your product or service to them. Let me give you an example. We had talked about, just briefly, the company that said, you know what, my target market are C-level executives, ages 40 to 55. But if we drill down into that and create a buyer persona, that might be a small start of what it is, but we're going a little bit further. We're saying, well, and it's a C-level executive, 40 to 55. They work for a Fortune 5000 company. They're working long hours. They read this particular magazine. They're involved in this particular type of activity in their free time. Let's say they're on a nonprofit board. And not just that, but we know that because of the industry that they're in, book publishing, say, that they have a particular interest in serving on a library's nonprofit board. So now that we know a little bit about who that person is, what drives them, what's important to them as an individual, we can do a couple different things. We had mentioned first that we know of an industry publication that they are reading. Boy, that's a great place to connect with them. How do we get a hold of that editor to write a blog post on that magazine's web blog, or how do we get into their print edition? Also, we know that they're working long hours, so when we think about when to connect with them, we know that it's not just 9 to 5 for them, but maybe 8 to 6, some other time frame. We can test out when to send different emails, when to send published blog posts that are going to work best with that audience, knowing, with that buyer persona, knowing when they are working and when they're not working. Or at least when they're checking email and not checking email, which could be a totally different thing, as we all know, connected to our phones and so forth. Finally, we know what drives them personally, that they're so connected to their publishing industry that they are involved in print media and media in general in their own community, participating and volunteering for the library. Great. There's another place that we know where we can meet them at, and also how we could tailor some messaging to them. We know these things are important to you. We know it's important for you to share media with the world. We know it's important that it's accessible to people for you, and so on and so forth. So then when we're tailoring these messages, when we're writing the blog posts, when we're writing marketing and even sales copy, we know about who the person is. In fact, we're even going to put a name to the person. If you can find, say, the typical name of your customer, who that is, Bob, Jane, whoever, and we've named that person, we've created that, not just a demographic profile, but a psychographic profile. That's your buyer persona. And that's so much more impactful for you as a marketer or in sales and in just in general to raise the bottom line of your business, because you're able to create copy that's going to convert. You're able to reach them where they are, so you're not spending money or time or effort devoted to channels that just aren't going to work for your business. Of course, this takes testing to get right. You can comb through your past customers, you can have a good idea where it is, who these people are on an individual level, but we're still making some assumptions, so we need to test out these assumptions. But a buyer persona gives you assumptions to test in the first place, something that, just understanding in a generic sense who your target market is just can't do. So there's a huge difference between a buyer persona and your target market, and there's a huge benefit to developing those personas and starting to test how you can connect with these people in a really powerful way that's going to drive sales and improve your bottom line.